Hello, sheeple. Let's talk about the trans community and woke. Our governments, via our media whores, are supporting LGBTQ like crazy. This minority group's alleged needs are being forced to the forefront. When minority groups like either this or, say, the Aborigines or immigrants receive a helping hand from often a hidden source, unknown sponsors, there's going to be an evil agenda behind it. Look at Black Lives Matter. They get given a much needed helping hand from unknown sponsors and end up being encouraged to burn down their own communities and create more division whilst the top organisers run off with all the money. And what is planned for LGBTQ community, especially trans, is even worse. If you are part of this community, you have to realise that you are not being given a free ride. There is an agenda here. You will be used. A genuine trans person just wants to transition to the opposite sex, which is absolutely fine. They are not targeting children for anything. They don't want to compete with the biological weaker sex in sport or force you to use silly pronouns, and they're open for reasonable, non-hateful debate about sharing of showers and toilets and whatever issues may arise. But there's a lot of assholes, quite frankly, in any group, and the trans and LGBTQ are no exception. Someone who just wants to transition probably doesn't even understand why certain drag queens are so keen to enter schools or perform for children or discuss identity issues with those too young to possibly understand. Puberty blockers, hormone treatments, and even surgery before the age of 18 is a small part of a satanic agenda. And I'm not being overly sensitive because children are involved. Children are not always sweet and innocent. They're usually brats that need enormous amounts of moral and practical guidance, and sometimes a damn good spanking. But almost nobody deserves to be the target of a satanic agenda. Satanism is coming out in the open via Hollywood, its celebrities, and the music industry. You might not believe in demons, but very powerful elites do, and they nearly own you. They are gaining supreme power because of brainwashed sheeple enforcing enslavement agendas like woke and this nonsense. And also this nonsense, and nonsense like the ridiculousness in Ukraine and many others. Millions of sheeple are fully aware and fighting against these evil forces, or at least refuse participation as far as possible. Not easy when you're living in Satan's empire. But still, far too many of us sheeple are brainwashed government zombies. Now, sad to say, there are way too many zombie assholes in the furry fandom that's largely LGBTQ. I'm in Brisbane, Australia, and the furries here are real assholes. They are incapable of absorbing new information if it goes against any of the major government agendas, like the ones I mentioned above. They probably love the fact that I'm not even allowed to say certain words in our fascist land. They actually believe it's for their own benefit. They enforce filthy fascist agendas like this genocide. Even when it's not government mandated. You're not allowed to question the legitimacy of a trans role model like Dylan Mulvaney, who I'll get into in a bit. It's amazing what the satanic elites have achieved via our governments and media halls. Sheeple are literally fighting for their own enslavement. The only way to deal with this nonsense and this genocide is to have an incredibly, what we're going to end up with if we keep going along with this, is we're going to end up with an incredibly small group dictating to the whole world, forcing billions to carry out their commands in unison. An apparent must for saving the planet. And oops, nearly said it, I better not. And this, the activists supporting these agendas, these activist morons, are begging for this to happen. Let's get back to the whole woke and trans agenda. If you're, say, for example, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, people may be interested in your title. E.g., I am Aragorn, Ranger of the North, sometimes known as Strider, heir of Isildur, king of Anor and Gondor, and on and on and on. But if you're just some sheeple like me, no one gives a crap about your identity or your preferred terms. Just want to quick him or his or her. And you shouldn't force anything else upon them. You have a right to not be beaten up and not be threatened, and that's it, nothing more. Sheeple on planet Earth have a right to be assholes to each other, to an extent. I wish we wouldn't exercise that right, but we do. Let's finish off with a brief talk about the trans role model, Dylan Mulvaney. This guy has some serious backing, and I'm sure it's the usual satanic forces behind him. He gets to question the president, has famous celebrities like Drew Barrymore kneel before him, and he always seems to swing major contracts to promote various brands. Even Nike sports bra when he doesn't even have any frigging boobs. He's a trained actor and a very good one. And whilst he's capable of producing, no doubt, high-end productions, he intentionally keeps his vids simple, usually, so he can appear to be just like me and you. Because this is a satanic agenda, he slipped in a vid where he wants to be a 6-year-old girl called Eloise. He knows that broadcasting this kind of thing, this kind of behaviour, is very damaging to the trans community. He also requests help, in quotations, for young trans people. But how young? Because if you're too young, then nature has given you an identity and agenda. And if you question this or try to guide them on this or interfere with it in any way, you're hurting, you're not helping. When Dylan tells women that male attributes such as bulges in your pants are normal and okay, this is absurd. And putting together these passive-aggressive attacks when he's challenging a critic, or like when he devised a boyfriend test that deems you unsuitable, an unsuitable partner if you don't agree with enough of his woke nonsense. This is exactly the bullying behaviour he himself claims he wants to eliminate. Take a look at somebody like Jazz Jennings, who began transitioning from male to female at the age of 6 after being diagnosed with gender dysphoria at the age of 4. These blatantly cruel abuses are made easy by our leaders confusing and brainwashing us, coupled with our own moral flaws and our absolute inability to recognize and stand against anything unless our authorities and mainstream media halls tell us to. The moonlight fades with the morning glow. Good night, sheeple.